Thanks, everyone. I had a recent comment that said, Ian, your face has changed since last time we've seen you, and we seem a lot happier. And, I remember coming to the first Goldmesse. Kai was still living in Vancouver and was talking about returning home and coming back to Germany and his dreams and doing this conference. And I do look back at the times that we're telling a story, but at that time we had a very, very difficult, very ambitious plan to change the direction of the company. And it was that same person who said, hey, your face looks different, is the same person who said, Ian, whatever you do what you say you're going to do and make sure you do it. And so that was a lot of pressure on my brain at that time in the previous years. So it's a whole lot easier telling this story than in years past. And I'll go into why. Obviously, lots of forward-looking statements, but in summary, we are the highest grade undeveloped silver story that I know of on the planet today. We are today backed. 21% of our ownership is Eric Sprott. That's a very important part of our story. But we're also, another reason for the smile is because we're fully financed for this year's drilling program to be able to get to significant catalysts that are important for this company. And that's a lot easier position to be in when you know you have at least the financing to be able to deliver on what you're saying. And we are based in Colombia, where I live. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about silver, especially in Germany. I'm sure a lot of you are here because you believe in silver. And I get asked this question a lot. Do I think silver is going to go much, much higher? And I say, of course I do. I definitely would not be running a silver company if I didn't believe in the underlying fundamentals of why silver can go much, much higher for so many reasons. But then I get asked, well, when? And then I don't know that answer, right? So that's a much difficult question. But that also influences the plan that we put together. So the background is valuation, understanding valuation and evaluation of a company and where that valuation is going to go and how much is it going to cost to get there. So today we have a 37 million ounce deposit. We are valued in, all of these are going to be Canadian numbers, but in Canadian dollars, we are worth around $2 per ounce in the ground. And that's an important number because that's a very similar valuation for other tier 1 silver companies such as Dolly Varden, BlackRock, and even when we started looking, Vizsla Silver, before they went on to be valued for project development and their NPV. But we knew our valuation, right? But we're already in a tier 1 valuation. But why are we in a tier 1 valuation? Obviously, grade is key, right? The blue line is our silver grade. It's 73% of our value is silver, so we're highly leveraged. We're a true primary silver project. The additional 27% is all gold, but even our silver grades only are higher than many of the other projects, and some of them that are moving into production today. But I call it, the rest of it is called the silver trifecta. We have very high grade, extremely high recoveries due to our mineralogy, 96% recovery in silver, 98.5% recovery in gold, and an extremely simple flow sheet, but also producing a high quality concentrate. Right? This is a precious metal concentrate. This is not a lead or silver concentrate. This would go to a gold or silver refinery, and we have indicative terms of a 98% payable on this concentrate, but it's so high grade that you can go directly from concentrate into doré. We could produce doré without cyanide. We've actually done it. We've taken that exact metallurgical test work, smelted it directly, and you can create doré directly from that concentrate. Why is that important to somebody looking at a project? Because grade obviously is an indication of the value in the ground, but then how much can you recover and how much do you get paid for it? So we have a very high grade project, a very high recovery, and a very high payable. And that's why at 37 million ounces, we're in a room that is similar to companies that have 100 or 200 million ounces, right? But that also said, I joined the company in July of 2023, after an April 2023 resource estimate. So that resource estimate came out. It was 6 different veins, and you can see them. They're the blue lines on the screen. Those little veins added up to the 37 million ounces, each one high grade, each one adding a considerable amount of ounces. But I said, well, if we can't really increase the valuation. We can't go from $2 to $3, right? We're already in our peer group kind of places where our valuation is going to be. So the only way I can add value is to move forward to go into production, but we're small, and we're smaller than the rest, and it's probably one of the question marks out there of we're in that peer group, but we're the smaller one. So the really only way we can create value for our shareholders right now is to add ounces. But the majority of the work was done in the northeastern section of the deposit. And the southern section, you even see there's less gray lines, there's less targets because less work had been done there. But I said we can't increase our resource 10, 20%. We need to double our resource. We need to triple our resource. So we went out with a very ambitious plan, even though we knew it would not immediately create value. And that was why I had that long face. I had to raise the money. I had to go to market and say, this is not going to create value tomorrow, but I'm going to show you how we can grow this project dramatically. And also, we had to go all the way down south onto this project, right? But we executed. In the year 2024, we signed 100 land use agreements. That was one every 3 days with new communities and new people, right? But thank goodness for the quality of the team and the relationships. I live in Colombia. That I think helped a little bit to be on top of this, guiding this, moving this forward, right? We executed. And in the last 12 months, we started drilling in April, and since June, we mobilized a second drill. We've executed over the last 12 months. And we've had 5 discoveries during that time period: Guadal, Jimenez, Aguilar, Laye, and Los Mangos. And a big sigh of relief for all of us because we've been providing guidance of where we think this resource can grow to by the end of the year. Because last week we hit 18 meters at 992 grams per ton at Mangos, which is on the southern section. So we've demonstrated to market we can execute. We demonstrated to market we can show where this pathway and this project can grow bigger. But we've also shown that there's high-grade silver throughout the entire trend. And obviously having a hole like from Mangos is a big sigh of relief on how many ounces we can add. So in 2023, we put out that resource estimate. 2024, we told market what our plan was going to be. We started executing in that plan in April. We had a discovery at Aguilar. We had a discovery at Jimenez. And Eric Sprott called us up and said, I want to give you $7 million. And so he increased his position from 14 to 19%. I think he liked the story, and he saw that we were executing on his story. We had a hit at Laye. We had a hit at Los Mangos. Shareholders agreed to let him go past 20%, and he's gone up to 21%. We were the 6th largest investment of Eric Sprott last year, but in terms of percentage of ownership increase, we were the largest that I know of. So that was, for me, a big check mark in that we were delivering on the plan that we said we were going to do, and puts me in the position today. We have $9 million in the bank, and we have a $12 million year program. So we have enough money to finish the program for this year and get us to that big catalyst. The greener lines represent the lines where we would like to do an updated resource. So we have a 24,000 meter drill program, a $12 million spend for the year. We still have $9 million in the bank to finish that, right, with the purpose of doing an updated resource. We look at doing an updated resource in the first quarter of next year, early in the first quarter of next year, right, to do an updated resource because it was simple. Our target is to get to at least 60 million ounces, go from 37 million ounces to 60 million ounces, and then next year continue and be pushing towards 100 million ounces. And I think you can see that if 37 million are sitting in the top, we've shown it in the middle, we've shown it at the end that we have a pathway to grow to that number. But if we go from 37 to 60 million, that's 23 million more ounces. And based on our current valuation, that is worth $46 million. And that is why I'm so happy today. I have the money to do it. And I know from this point forward, we're converting for every dollar we receive, we're converting to $4 million in valuation. So I had somebody ask me who knew the silver story, but did not know the overall why exploration. And I said, well, it's because we have a huge beta, right? When silver goes up 10%, we go up 20%. He goes, well, why doesn't everybody invest in exploration and not in production? And I said, oh, dilution, because I don't know when silver is going to go up. But I wanted to make sure that we had a plan, and I'm happy today and have a smile on my face today because we finally have a plan that says until the time that silver goes up, we are going to be creating value for our shareholders based on our current valuation. And our very high grade also provide some armor if things go the other direction. We still have a 4-to-1 margin, so we have room to continue to create value from this point and this point moving forward. So a lot of the rest is the team, and I wish I had the time in this 12 minutes to talk more about the team. I wanted to tell you about the story, but we have an amazing team in corporate governments, capital markets, geology, development. I'm a mining engineer, 30 years in the industry, 20 of those years since 1999 working in South America, and experience in Colombia. Based on the work that I told you, for example, Thiana Alvarez, our country manager, has been named one of the most influential people in Colombia. And I think that delivering those 100 land use agreements in 1 year is a demonstration of that. We are in the safest part of Colombia. We're right between Medellin and Bogota. We're north of Ibagué. To the west of us is Collective Mining's project, and also the Marmato mine. To the south is a gold mine. So we're in a classic district. 400 years ago, this was the third largest producer of silver of the Spanish Empire, and it's now part of the identity of the local community. The L in their name now represents the legacy and the future of silver, and we are the only silver project in the area, and that's translated into positive support in the regional government, who would be doing our future mine permits. So we have locked in big part, and I could go on forever about the, being part of some of the biggest builds of companies and projects in South America. Political will that starts with local strength is how it gets done. So in final, Eric Sprott is now at 21%. Management is at 7%. About a third of our remaining float is within institutions, but we want to get over that 100 million mark, so we see a lot more institutional presence in our name. And we also have the larger goal of eventually listing on the New York Exchange, where we see 75% of our buying coming out of the United States, but we have to push our market capitalization higher, but that's our overall goal. But in summary, right, we like to think that we have an exploration story that's a value story. We know where our value comes from. It's per the ounces in the ground, and we've de-risked that. We know which veins we're going to drill. We know which ones are going to convert. We know we're going to go to larger ounces. We've been executing over the last 12 months, and we expect to continue to deliver on that story with the major big upside that we are extremely leveraged to silver price. So if silver goes, we will go even higher. Thank you.
And we do have a few minutes for questions, so if there's any questions from the audience, please feel free to ask, if there's anyone. I do have a question. Having been in Colombia, what is some of the benefits of exploring in Colombia as opposed to other parts of South America where we've seen a lot of uptick in activity lately?
Yeah, I think there's a reason that Colombia has seen Anglo-American, Rio Tinto, Freeport-McMoRan all showing up. And that's because it's been a tough 3 years with the first leftist president in 30 years, but he has about a year left, and the endowment is there, right? There's a lot of exploration upside, right? And I think, collective mining, Mineros is still here, I think is presenting later, and others. Aris's success in Colombia demonstrates that you can execute, and that we've been drilling over the last 12 months so that you can continue to execute, right? But I've worked and lived in Venezuela, Ecuador, Bolivia, Chile, Argentina. I was part of the first construction of the first industrial scale mine in the history of Ecuador, Mirador, right? And I love living in, I really want to tell you that I love being close to the projects. That is the reason that I'm there, but I love living in Medellin. The entrepreneurial spirit it's empowering, and having a team that's so empowered to execute. So I do believe the sentiment is low in perception and market in Colombia, and that will change dramatically over the next 12 months as people see where it's going. And so I think that's also a big part of our upside.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, thank you, Ian. And Outcrop Silver and Gold looks very interesting, highly levered to silver. So something everyone should be looking at, actually. So I do believe that silver is highly undervalued and will have a move in the near term here.
Me too. I hope so. Until then, we can continue to create value for our shareholders. So that's what we're excited about.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you.